Dysarthria affects communication in over 50% of children with cerebral palsy. Furthermore, up to 92% of children with cerebral palsy exhibit some form of oral motor dysfunction. So what is cerebral palsy? Cerebral palsy, or CP for short, is a disorder that affects movement and posture caused by brain damage or abnormal development of the brain. There are 4 types of cerebral palsy. Spastic is the most common type of cerebral palsy and is characterized by muscle stiffness, hypertonic reflexes, and abnormal increases in muscle tone. Dyskinesia is characterized by uncontrollable movements, which can be slow or rapid, and affects control of the face and tongue muscles involved in swallowing and speech. Ataxic cerebral palsy is characterized by poor balance and coordination, as well as imbalance and wide gait. Balance is controlled by the cerebellum, and ataxic cerebral palsy has a cerebellar etiology, meaning that it's caused by damage to the cerebellum. Finally, mixed cerebral palsy is characterized by having features of more than one type of CP. So an example would be spastic ataxic. The reason why I'm focusing on spastic dysarthria in this video, and specifically within this population, is because one study found that 53.8% of pediatric participants were categorized as having spastic dysarthria. Furthermore, spastic cerebral palsy appeared in 57.7% of the study population. When dysarthria is secondary to cerebral palsy, it affects the acoustic properties of speech. So these include segmental cues, which are vowels and consonants, and suprasegmental cues, which include loudness, pitch, and duration. In terms of segmental cues, it causes imprecise articulation, consonant distortion, and consonant voicing errors. With suprasegmental cues, it causes hypernasality, slower speaking rate, and changes in voice quality. So this could be a breathy voice or a strained voice. And it also causes less tongue movement. There are various speech characteristics seen in children with spastic dysarthria that are second to cerebral palsy. Dysarthria in children with cerebral palsy affects the acoustic and perceptual qualities of speech, as well as the oral motor control of speech muscles. Here is a study done by Allison and Hustad that outlines the profiles of dysarthria and describes the associated perceptual characteristics. These profiles were made in efforts to classify dysarthria based on severity. Nasality, which is indicated by the red bar, significantly increases as the severity of dysarthria increases. This could be because the levator veli palatini muscle and the uvular muscle, which allows movement of the velum to open or close the velopharyngeal port, contributes to the degree of nasality in speech. The rate of speech decreases significantly as the severity increases, possibly because of the muscular weakness that affects the lungs and articulators. As a result, muscular weakness causes decreased breath support and decreased vocal fold movement. The following tables are from a study done by May and other authors. The right-hand side will show the occurrence of certain features in the study population, and on this slide, it summarizes features of motor speech control. And this study found that the jaw, tongue, and vocal folds were found to be the most difficult articulators to control. Here is another table describing structural and functional abnormalities associated with cerebral palsy. Abnormal posture and abnormal tone in the trunk and/or face were the most common structural features. Drooling and tongue protrusion were the most common abnormal functions. The previously mentioned speech characteristics have an impact on overall intelligibility. One study included children ranging from 24 months of age to 96 months of age. Intelligibility thresholds of 25%, 50%, and 75% were used. listeners participating in the study listened to speech samples and produced orthographic transcriptions. So orthographic basically means that they sounded out the words and wrote out what they heard through computer software. The phonetic transcriptions that were derived from listeners' original transcriptions were then compared to accurate phonetic transcriptions of the target words. Intelligibility scores were obtained by counting the number of words correctly transcribed by listeners when compared to the target words. This chart summarizes results from the study that analyzed intelligibility in children with cerebral palsy. The horizontal axes represent ages ranging from birth to 10 years of age, and there's one line for 25, 50, and 75% of the study population. The blue dots represent the age in which a certain intelligibility threshold was passed. So for example, 25% of the children in the study reached 25% intelligibility at 2 years of age, or 29 months specifically. And what this shows is that in children with cerebral palsy, they achieve higher rates of intelligibility at later ages compared to their typically developing peers. So for example, 75% of children in the study did not reach 50% intelligibility until 7 years of age. And with typically developing children, this age is usually much earlier for them, so around 2 to 3 years of age. This study also found a strong positive correlation between intelligibility scores at 36 months of age, predicting future intelligibility scores at 96 months of age. Finally, more than half of the children in this study did not reach 75% intelligibility for single word productions. So in summary, dysarthria is a common speech disorder in children with cerebral palsy, and in today's video I focused on spastic dysarthria because it was shown to be the most common type in children with cerebral palsy. Muscular weakness, brain damage, and general characteristics of CP contribute to abnormal speech characteristics. Changes in speech characteristics can be seen in oral motor dysfunction and heard perceptually in speech. Finally, these changes in oral motor function and acoustics of speech can manifest into reduced intelligibility, with many children exhibiting delayed intelligibility compared to typically developing children.